It's just a huge, huge honor for me to podcast interview my buddy for long time, Eduardo Ricco, all the way from Sao Paulo, Brazil. He graduated at the University of Sao Paulo in 1990, just in the middle of a political economical crisis and impeachment process of Brazilian President Collor, just the same as last year with ex-President Dilma, and between not more than little gaps of prosperity in Brazil. Gaps of opportunity which he took. As his country opened his market, he took part in an experience with network marketing where he met Zig Ziglar, Stephen Covey, Tony Robbins, from whom he became a partner with, bringing Tony Robbins' practice management group Fortune all the way to Brazil. He also brought his dental mentor and hero, Dr. Howard Farran, to Brazil for a seminar at the APCD Sao Paulo and Dentaltown, launching the website and magazine. God, was that year 2000?
2000, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there. Your Dentaltown, first year.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've seen that in 20 years.
It's my treasure.
You're so kind. He went on to learn orthodontics, occlusion at a hospital. I can't even read all these names. I'm sorry, they're Portuguese. He is also a member of APCD that promotes yearly an international congress, CIOSP, where he was president of one of its regional, and nowadays he is member of Conselho Deliberativo, House of Delegates. Last year, Dr. Ricco was collaborating with his community as health and dental director in public service, but his secret to life is his beautiful family, 3 children, Luiza, Analia, Dado, and his wife, Monica. Now, I could not imagine doing a podcast in Portuguese. I only speak English, and when I meet someone like you that can speak Portuguese and English, my hat's off to you. And since English as a second language is so difficult, I don't want to do much talking. I'd rather you just talk and tell us all about Brazil, what it's like to be a dentist in Brazil. I know you guys have 200 million people with 150,000 dentists. So I've been to Brazil probably a dozen times. It's got to be the most beautiful country on earth. How is it like being a dentist in Brazil these days?
Yeah, okay, here we go. It's an honor. Thank you for your invitation. We have a Brazilian writer, Paulo Coelho, and he says something like there are some magical moments in our lives, and I know this one is one magical moment. Sorry for my English not so fluent. It will give some fun for the audience and for you. Anyway, welcome to all Townies, the Dentaltown community, which I pleasure to be part of it as the Brazilian coordinator here in Brazil, where 283,000 dentists. It's a jungle to be a dentist, yeah. In 2017, 83,000 dentists.
That's more than the United States.
Yeah, and the population is even smaller, much smaller.
What is the population in Brazil?
Around 2,000 million.
So 200 million. And the United States has less dentists, and it has 325 million. So that is a very, very competitive market. It must be very hard to build a practice with that much competition.
Yeah, from one side we have very low healthy in mouth, and lots of people to need a dentist. But on the other side, there's no money. Our income is very low comparing with the USA.
How many years did all the dentists go to school? Did they all go to school the same length of time?
Yeah, it's easy to become a dentist here in Brazil, 4 or 5 years, and you're done. There are lots of dental schools in the last 20 years. The increase of dental schools was huge. In my state, São Paulo, There are 30% of all dentists in just one state. It's the richest state in Brazil. They are very concentrated here.
So are all the dentists making a living, or do some of the dentists have to take part-time jobs to supplement their dentist income?
Yeah, it looks like some dentists cannot be successful in their dental practice these days.
What percent?
I don't know how to the numbers of this, but the young dentists have hard time here to begin. I am the third generation in my family. It looks like that boy that you interviewed in Cambodia, and I'm easy to begin because my father left the practice for me.
Do many dentists that you know also have part-time jobs that are not in dentistry to supplement their income, or are most of your friends able to provide for their family just from dentistry?
No, most of my classroom mates are doing good. We are in a very good region in Brazil, north state of São Paulo, and it's a good place to be dentist. We can do it well with our family. And
so what are you passionate about in dentistry these days? What makes you get up in the morning with a smile?
yeah, that's a good point. That's why I think I'm here, and that's why I want to share. I think I need music in my mind, and I want to sing my song. And it's interesting because as you read it in the beginning, it was network marketing and internet. Internet was kind of revolutionary. And back in '98, I asked if there was on the internet something like practice management. It was a search. I went to the internet in 1998, and I found some dental articles in Dental Success, like some Dr. Howard Farran, Dental Success, the future is bright on the other side of managed care monsters. Good article, Doc. And then I began studying practice management with my English. I bought some books from Penwell, and this little one was, okay, Martin Ehudin.
Successful Practice in Good Times and Bad. Who was the author?
Martin Ehudin from Washington, D.C. Martin is an old one. I paid $10 for this book on Penwell website. And then when it arrived here, I studied and looked for some information, and I thought, Rick Kushner, it seems like a good idea. Why I don't fly to Denver and visit Rick Kushner? Because it looks like interesting. Then I went to ADA in San Francisco in '98, then fly to Denver, Colorado, where our friend, and just a parenthesis, we need to bring Rick Kushner here for a podcast. I know you are inviting him, so I'm asking him to come for a podcast. We need Rick Kushner.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, Rick Kushner gave me his new letter, his whole edition, Simple Truth. How winners think, isn't it good? Okay, then I could understand the business sides of dentistry, not only technical aspects of dentistry. Kate Jameson says something like 15% is technical expertise and 85% is communication, case presentation. And then I start to deep on these studies. And we don't have practice management in Brazil. It looks like we have some kind of marketing, and it's not the dentist that looks for marketing is bad dentist. Only the good ones are the technical and go for the dental schools. Oh, sorry. So practice management opened the doors for my success in my practice.
I found that book on Amazon. Yeah, it was by The Successful Dental Practice in Good Times and Bad by Morton M. Ehudin. Can you email me his name? That is just fantastic.
Yeah, I almost brought him to Brazil. I would like to have some news from Dr. Morton. I already said thank you for him. By the way, good article in Dentaltown this month. We need to do internal marketing, and this I learned from all of you. Every new patient gave a coffee mug for a new patient that come, and it is terrific. Internal marketing is the best way to bring in new patients.
Absolutely. So, do you read Dentaltown magazine on the internet?
Every month.
Where do you read it? Do you read it on dentaltown.com or do you read the digital edition?
Everywhere, on the cell phone, on the internet, digital edition.
The digital edition.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Dentaltown magazine, because we print it and mail it to 125,000 dentists each month, but it's emailed all over the world digitally.
Yeah.
The internet is so amazing.
Yeah. I think my paper is to translate it to Portuguese and bring this information to Brazilian dentists. It will open the mind and anywhere.
So, do you said you translate it to Portuguese?
Yeah.
You mean in your own head, or do you translate it on Google?
Sometimes your article, the editor's corner, is terrific, and I translate on Google and send to my friends, dental friends.
Wow.
And they love.
We ought to have you. We ought to get you on the team to translate the entire magazine and then email it to those 283,000 dentists. How hard would it be to find their emails?
No, it's easy. It's easy. That's why I'm trying to say to you, we need to bring it to Portuguese language, isn't it?
Well, let's do it. Now, what is the biggest Brazilian dental company? Is it Neodent?
Yeah, it's implant for implants. We have now Henry Schein coming to Brazil, and we have Dental Kramer and this. But we have a lot of manufacturers, dental chairs here in my city, Ribeirão Preto. We have very big ones like ADEC, Dabi Atlante. It's a good region from medicine manufacturers.
What % of dentists in Brazil can read or speak English, would you say?
Yeah, I'm trying to look for this information, but it's very, I'm not fluent in English. I studied several years, but we get some not fluent one. But I'm following you and can understand.
Well,
but perhaps 5%.
Yeah, they call it
good in English.
They call it the rule of 50 million. So if you're born on Earth and you have 50 million people to talk to in your language, you don't need to learn a second language. So like when you go to Europe, when you get to countries that are under 5 million or under 10 million, like Denmark, Sweden, Norway, those people speak 5 languages because they got to talk to the Germans, the French, the Italians, the Spaniards. And so when you're born in a country as large as Brazil with 200 million people, there would just be no reason to learn a second language. So that's what you find all over the world, is that if you're born in a country with more than 50 million people, the people really don't need a second language. But I think your English is amazing, not especially considering I've been to Brazil a dozen times and I can't say one thing in
That's great.
so in English we put a DR in front of the name. In Portuguese you put a DRA.
No, DR. DRA is for women.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that what that is? So DR is a man and DRA is a woman. I always have to think about that. So Mario is a boy and Marie is a girl. So DRA ends in A, Maria. Huh. I always wondered why so many Portuguese dentists email me and their last name was, it was DRA. I had no idea that meant they were a woman. Interesting. So how do you say dentist in Portuguese?
Dentista.
Dentista, same as Spanish?
Dentista. Yeah, dentista.
Yeah, I love your languages more because there's the 5 languages that came from Rome, the Romance languages. Romania, Italy, Portuguese, Spain, and French. And you can see how common the writing is between those 5 Romance languages, whereas English was an open language, so there's hardly any rules, and it's just I before E, but after C. It's the craziest language to learn. They say the only harder language to learn than English is Vietnamese.
What? Vietnamese?
Yeah, and you know why? Because they will say the exact same word, but how they, what is it called when you...
The accent?
What?
The accent.
The accent?
Yeah.
The accent, how you accent the word is 6 different meanings per word. So you have to learn the language, and then you have to learn the tone and the pitch. They say it's just completely impossible to learn if you start learning it like after the age of like 12 or 13 or 14. You're just never going to get it. But so I commend your English. But yeah, I would love to bring you on the team and start a Portuguese edition. I think that would be amazing. I mean, the stakes are so high with 283,000 dentists speaking Portuguese in Brazil to get them high quality information. I mean, you could help. You and I combined, we could help so many Portuguese dentists. I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, this is my burning desire, my dream, and what is life about? It's working and helping others to grow. So we can work on it.
So how is it Tony Robbins' group doing down there in Brazil? His Fortune Management, how is that going?
Continuing my saga. In 2000, you went to Brazil, and we talk a lot, and you gave me your 30-day MBA, and I went back to USA at the ADA session, this time in Chicago, and then there was a Fortune Management, Diane Crenshaw from North Carolina, and she went to Brazil, and we began to translate the material and work with some colleagues, with some dentists, and working forehands and all the scheduling, time, monitoring, timing my procedures. But then another crisis, political crisis. And by the way, you read it about when I graduate in 90, and how the Netflix is getting some trouble here in Brazil because the newspapers are more popular with political scandals nowadays, today, than House of Cards. Here. But anyway, in 2000, we have a little problem. The left government from Lula, President Lula, he won the elections and the dollar go to the orbit. He went 50%, and then fortune management became hard to sell here in Brazil, and Brad just gave up. So just Eduardo with all the Tony Robbins, and I went to San Diego for a fortune event in 2001. And anyway, fortune is no more in Brazil. Fortune is only on the internet for Brazilians.
So how is the, right now the big scandal in Brazil is the car wash scandal.
Yeah. Last year we impeached President Dilma, but 15 days ago, some recordings over the phone, our actual president, Michel Temer, with some bad news. I think he will not end till next year his government. He will be impeached too. So dollar raises and action is a terrible mess nowadays. We are at the worst recession from this last 25 years. Since I'm working dental practice, these 2 years were the worst. Bad times here. Political crisis and recession, economical recession.
But you look great, you look happy, you look upbeat. It doesn't seem to be bothering you. Is it because your 3 children and Monica are make you not care about the economy?
I don't know. I think it's the shirt, your t-shirt, yours beautiful as mine. We look like chess. Anyway, 25 years in dentistry, and we are more like Rick Kushner called, we are hook, some kind of hooks. We are more stabilized and it's easy, but the newest dentists are having big trouble for new patients. And
I try to put it in perspective because in the 2008 financial meltdown, 86 dentists went under in where I live in Phoenix. And a lot of people were singing the blues, and I say, okay, now let's look back at America. There was a civil war which killed 1 million people when there were only 30 million people in the country. So 1 in every 30 died during the Civil War, and they fought with fire back then, and everything was made of wood, so they burned down half the country. Then you had World War I. Then you had the Great Depression. The stock market crashed in 29, and from 32 to 36, we had 25% unemployment. And then we come out of that and go right into World War II, where 6 million boys are shipped overseas, and 1/3 don't come back, times 10 wounded. So in perspective, in today's rich world, these seem really bad. But when you go back in time, our grandparents lived through a lot of tough stuff. Like you're 3rd generation dentist. I'm sure your grandfather lived through incredibly difficult times too.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure of it. I remember you telling me back in 2000, Eduardo, where a rich country as Brazil doesn't work, there is just one word, corruption. You said it to me 17 years ago. I can't forget about it. And it's corruption we have here in Brazil. That time, but car wash will be doing a good job, and the future will be better.
Yes, when the Nobel Prize winning economists do research on countries, asking them, why does this country have all this resources and farming and minerals, and then other countries like Japan, who has no agriculture, no mining, no resources, do so well, and they study it, it always comes back to the number one factor in poverty is a corrupt government.
Yeah. It's clear now, and it's getting more clear every day. But anyway, the federal police is doing a good job. In the past, there wasn't this kind of investigation. So the future will be better. I'm sure of it.
And
Even being dentist, we have implants, we have resins, we have porcelains, beautiful smiles, and my father only do amalgams and extraction and dentures. And nowadays I need to convert the dentures into fixed, implanted, supported dentures. It's better, isn't it?
you know, Venezuela is a classic example. They had the most natural resources of all of Central and South America. They had more oil money than any country down there, and look at their economy now. I mean, they're completely in depression.
Yeah. But you gave us some game to play, huh?
So what do you got? What are you mostly excited about? Clinical dentistry. Are you doing orthodontics? Are you doing what are you doing? Are you placing implants, cosmetics? What are you most passionate about today?
Yeah, today we have an article in this. It's about all on four. Yeah,
Yes.
all on four and dentures over implants fixed.
You know, the man who invented that is Portuguese from Lisbon, Dr. Paulo Melo.
Yeah.
Is it pronounced Paulo Melo?
Yeah, he's from Portugal. I went to his clinic in Lisbon last October. A whole building. He went to Brazil some years ago, and he's terrific. All on four, Paulo Malo.
Can I tell you about my my first trip to Lisbon, Portugal?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I was 17 and I went to a Catholic high school, Bishop Carroll, and my two oldest sisters, when they left high school, they went straight into the Catholic nunnery. They had big recruiting programs. So to recruit boys, they rented a 747, packed it up with 450 Catholic boys from the high schools in the area, and flew us all to Lisbon, Portugal, where we stayed in a priesthood seminary in Fatima, and usually that trip they send 454 boys, and usually they get at least between like 10 and 20 to cancel their return flight home and join the seminary. So it was a massive recruiting deal. For 2 weeks they were trying to convince me to be a priest, but it was my first trip out of the United States. It was my first
17.
Yeah, I was 17. I had the time of my life. I can still remember catching a plane at New York City, and I mean, seeing that and flying over the ocean and landing in Lisbon. And it was tough times in Lisbon. I think it was 1970. I graduated in high school in 80. I think it was somewhere, but I think it was 76 or 77, and they had just gone through an attempted communist takeover, and it was there was
Salazar. Salazar was the ditador. It was bad times in Portugal.
Oh, there were red hammers and sickles, painted graffiti everywhere, and they kind of decimated the economy. But it was just so beautiful. And the thing about I love about Europe is in the United States, it's hard to find anything that's 100 years old. But you go to Portugal, you go to Europe, and I mean, it's nothing to find something 500 or 1,000 years old. It was just so beautiful.
In Brazil too, all things are new, huh?
Right.
500 years only.
So talk about Neodent. Neodent is one of the largest dental implant companies in the world. It was just bought by Straumann out of Europe.
Yeah.
And now we see the Neodents coming into the United States. Are you placing implants?
Yeah, I'm placing Neodent. I saw them on a great New York dental meeting last December. Neodent are the first and the biggest Brazilian implants. We have another ones. We have thousands and thousands people to do implants here, you know. And this companies start 20 years ago and just blow up.
So are they made in your city, Sao Paulo?
Yeah, and it's in Paraná, another state down in Sao Paulo. We have in São Paulo one, a Conexão. Conexão is good one too.
Do you know the owner of Neodent?
Yeah, he's a colleague. He's the dentist.
I want to podcast him.
Yeah, I can link you with him. It's a good idea.
I think
Geninho.
I think Neodent is gonna do very well in the United States because the price of Neodent is so much less than the expensive Noble Biocare or Straumann. I mean, he's definitely gonna have the low cost IKEA, Walmart, Southwest Airlines. He's gonna be the low cost implant provider, and the fastest way to increase sales in any business is to lower your cost and lower your prices. And he's definitely going to be the low price implant, the major low price implant.
Yeah. I remember last week I saw the movie, The Founder, from McDonald's. And I don't know about Phoenix, the second McDonald's. It's an amazing movie. The story of McDonald's, Rock, and supply and demand, and I remembered you, MBA. Anyway, back to implants. In Brazil, it's cheaper than United States to have this treatment. So I invite all the Americans that don't are short of money, come to Brazil to treat. We have a tourist, and then healthcare. We're working on this kind of tourism too.
So how much would it cost to get all on four and on a fixed bridge? Well, there was all on four for a fixed bridge. I guess Brandmark started all on six with and then it went to all on four. How much would that in the United States? One arch of all on four at Clear Choice is about $25,000 US.
25 here is around 3,000.
So how are and would it be an equivalent all on four with a fixed bridge, or are you talking all on four with removable?
No, fixed bridge over metal and acrylic.
I think what do you think is better for the implants? All on four removable or all on four fixed? Because when they're removable, you can sure clean everything so much easier. When they're fixed, it's kind of I think it's far more difficult to clean.
Oh, excuse me. We have Brandmark. Brandmark, the Sweden doctor, left us in 2015. He went to Brazil and he opened a dental school in Bauru, where I went to do my implant training. And Dr. Brandmark, the golden pattern is fixed. The Brandmark protocol we call here, isn't it? Brandmark protocol fixed.
He lived in Brazil the majority of his remaining years. Did he actually die in Brazil, or was he back in?
No, he was back to Sweden
when he actually died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to podcast him before he passed away, and he wasn't well enough at the time.
Yeah, he was a blessed person.
Oh my gosh, he changed dentistry.
Yeah, and he helped a lot of people in Brazil with his implants and left a dental school that looked for people that can afford the private treatment and all on four and all of this kind of implants. Just a minute, we have these are the Brandmark Dental School in Bauru in Brazil, and we have some kinds of implants for nose or eyes or finger, and all of this in Brandmark in São Paulo here in Brazil.
Now, does his son ever come down to Brazil? I know his son's Dr. Brandmark was his son is an orthopedic surgeon in San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't know about his son.
Yeah, I need to podcast him. That would be an interesting podcast. He's a great guy. Of those 283,000 dentists in Brazil, how many of them have ever placed an implant? What percent?
Oh, 10%?
Only 10% place implants?
Only 10%.
Why do 90% not place implants?
I don't know. As we have a lot of dentists here, some dentists go only to do endo, others pediatrics, other perio, and we have specialties. I think it's the main reason.
I thought a lot of general dentists in Brazil place implants, but you're saying not so much.
Yeah, I don't know the right number to tell you. I think it's 10%. In my hometown, we have 10% that place implants.
If an all-on-4 costs $25,000 an arch in the United States, and it costs $3,000 in Brazil, and Brazil is a vacation paradise, are you having much success getting Americans and Canadians to fly down to San Paulo?
Yeah, we have some from Portugal. Of course, Portugal is something like this. It's cheaper here, and there is no barrier of the language. In Portugal, they speak Portuguese, and they come to Brazil. I have some patients from Portugal.
Now, is their dialect very close to your dialect, or is it pretty different? Their Portuguese versus Brazilian Portuguese?
No, it's quite similar. Just some words that is funny that change it significantly.
So what else are you doing besides? So is implants a big part of your practice? I mean, is that the major thing you're doing?
Yeah, clinical is the passion, and wisdom teeth I love doing surgeries, and it's the passion nowadays for us.
What about orthodontics?
Oh, ortho, 10 years ago, many schools began training, and nowadays is a mess, ortho here. I just work on ortho preparing for prosthodontics or implants used as anchorage, and it's not my main clinical target, ortho, nowadays.
Do you do endodontics too, root canals?
Yeah. With your, how can I say, you said we need to do everything. So I do some perio. Last year I left pediatrics, no more children. No more
Come
children.
on, you have 3 children. Don't you think it's funny how you have 3 children that you love so much, but you don't like to treat children?
They are all teenagers nowadays. And by the way, congratulations for Ryan. I remember it's a boy, but now they are men.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. My baby is 22 and 6 feet tall.
You are a grandfather.
Yeah, twice.
Twice.
And Ryan is going to be 24 next week, and he's 6 foot tall. I can't believe how fast the time went. So, you mentioned you were big fans of Zig Ziglar and Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey just passed away a couple of years ago. He was in Utah, fell off his mountain bike and bumped his head and died. Any takeaways from Zig Ziglar and Stephen Covey?
Yeah, Stephen Covey, 7 Habits is terrific. We have some. You are here. You, Rick Kushner, and the 7 Habits. Be proactive, sharpen the saw. Some painter from my city town. Anyway, Stephen Covey just changed our lives.
Was that me? Was that a picture of me on the wall?
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta take a picture of it with your iPhone and text it to me.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's so
17 years ago. I went to New York last December for Great New York and went to Dentaltown, got my pen, And when I was on the bus to the hotel, I look at the badge from Howard Phoenix. I said, "No, you're kidding. You're not the Farran." "Oh, but I'm Howard Goldstein, and I work with Howard." The word is so short that we went to a very good talk on the bus the way to the hotel. Howard Goldstein?
Yeah, Howard
Sorry.
Goldstein.
Yeah,
He lives kind of by New York. He lives in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He does all of our message boards, moderation, and our online CE. It took me years to get him to convince him to sell his practice, but he had 30,000 posts on Dentaltown. He had more than I did. And I said, Howard, you live on Dentaltown all day, every day. Please sell your practice and come work for me. And he finally did. And now he has 411 online CE courses up, and he just works so hard. And and then he also runs the moderators to where when someone's posting on Facebook that you don't like, you can just unfriend them or block them. But in a Dentaltown forum where there's 250,000 dentists and you post an implant case and someone critiques it, well, a lot of dentists don't like anybody critiquing or anything, but you have to say it in a very nice way. And if you feel like it's mean, you just click the report abuse, and then it goes to Howard Goldstein, Jason Luchtefeld, and other dentists, and they decide whether you're being nice. It's hard to get everyone to play nice in the sandbox.
But Dentaltown helped me a lot to bought the electric air. How can I say, the speed electrical one. There was a group, and I could get some information and select a brand, BNR from Switzerland, and I bought an electrical motor, and it's my little Ferrari. How can you say Ferrari, the car?
So you use electric handpieces instead of air-driven?
Yeah, just bought from New York, and Dentaltown helped me to make this choice.
You know, that's a very cultural. You go to some countries like America, and everybody uses air-driven. And then you go to other countries, and everyone uses electrical. And everyone that I know who has used both electrical and both air, they can't believe everyone doesn't use electrical. Do you like the electric handpieces?
Yeah, I'm loving it. For wisdom teeth and to cut, it goes straight ahead, just like a Ferrari. And the sound is like a Ferrari.
And what you're saying is the air speed doesn't have very much torque. So when you're preparing a tooth, you can stop the burr. But
it's like driving a Ferrari.
Yeah, with an electrical handpiece, you cannot stop the burr. I mean, the torque is so high. If you go forward, it's cutting through it.
And the sound for the patient is like music.
Yeah, the air-driven, that high-pitched noise makes people cringe, and the torque is so low. But I think it comes down to this. You either grew up painting with oil or water paint. And it's hard to get someone painting 10 years with water paint to switch to oil. And you can't get someone from oil to go to water paint. And so dentistry is hands-on surgery, and it's an art and a science. And if you've been doing your art for 10, 20 years, and that's why in dental school, they made us wear gloves in the lab. They said, we don't ever want you to even feel what it's like to touch a high speed or to do anything without these dang gloves on. We want you to only know, and I think in dental school, they might really consider starting them out on electric, because I think when you travel around the world, I mean, just like say electric seems to be better.
Yeah, I think I begin with implants. It's electrical, and then endo is electrical, and it's a natural way for me to go to air.
That is profound, because all the oral surgeons use electric because there wouldn't be enough torque with the air, and they wouldn't want to create an air embolism. And every dentist doing endo is using Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, not everyone, but most of them are using electrical handpieces. And then you don't have to have all that plumbing infrastructure. You don't have to have air, water, pressure lines coming into all your operatories. So it uses less infrastructure.
Yeah, it was easy to adapt to here.
Yeah. What else are you excited about? What else do you do? You don't do pedo. You do endo implants. You're not into orthodontics, or do you do much a lot of fillings, any cosmetics?
Yeah, I think what I want to share with all the tone is that we can improve our way to work forehands with scheduling, procedure times, and I just got faster and efficient. And then my prices can be lower and help more people to fix his teeth. And that's why I want to share this practice management principles with Brazilian people, because we work in a very primitive way, not primitive, but slowly. It's like on the Founder movie. We do one hamburger each time. So we can improve 2 chairs and see 2 patients. It's fun for you 2 chairs because you work on 8 chairs. I went to North Carolina and did some practice that is terrific. Working, it's quite a paradigm shift for us to work more than 2 chairs,
Yeah,
isn't it?
there's 2 million dentists around the world, and at least 1 million of them work out of one chair. And I remember the first time I lectured in Australia, it was 1990. I'm going to be lecturing there again next month in Sydney and Melbourne. But when I first went there in 1990, the Australian Dental Association had me come, and I was a keynote speaker, and I was talking about using more than one chair. And this guy stood up, and he pretended he was filing a root canal at both ends. That he was working on 2 people at the same time, and the whole room bust up laughing, and they could not even fathom the operational logistics that you would have 2 chairs, and seat, while you're cleaning up one, you could be working in another, and then you could take a break, and they just didn't get it. And now they get it. Now that was 90, 2000. That was 20. My God, that was 27 years ago. 1990 to 2017. Is that right? How long ago was that? 2017. Yeah, 17 years ago. Yeah, 17 years ago. And at that time, they were just starting hygiene school. So in the room when I lectured in 1990, everybody pretty much worked out of one room, and no one had a hygienist, and they were all booked up a month in advance. And
Yeah.
so they didn't understand why anybody would want to do marketing because they were booked up a month in advance. And so I said, well, why are you doing your cleanings? Why don't you have 2 or 3 chairs? If you went to 4 chairs, you wouldn't have them waiting a month. You could get through all of those people, this week.
We lost the hygiene patients here too. The patients only come with pain, with broken teeth. The shortage of money, I think they 10% do prevention, cleanings, dental cleanings, and a visit for prevention. It's not very good news.
Are there many hygienists in Brazil?
No hygienists, all dentists.
There's no
No
hygienists.
hygienists. No, we do the profit.
But with that many dentists, I'm sure you could hire for low money a young dentist out of school to do your hygiene.
Yeah, that's the way we do to begin practicing and dental assistant for us.
Now, is a dental assistant allowed to do a cleaning?
Yeah, here is allowed.
It's allowed.
Yeah.
So is there much legal oversight on dentistry? I mean, is there like a licensing credential, like a board, that if you do something wrong, they'll take your license away and you can't practice dentistry?
Yeah, we have a council.
And are they very aggressive?
Nowadays, we have a lot of attorneys as dentists. we have a lot of attorneys, and then they come to healthcare, and there's increase in this problem with professionals.
And do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We're looking for a test after left in the dental school. Well, nowadays we don't have a exam. All the students go and open his practice and go practicing.
Interesting. So right now it's May. So 6,000 dental students in the United States are getting ready to graduate next week. What advice would you give a young graduate who's walking out of school at 25 years old and entering into the profession? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, good question. Remember that the dental school is only the first step. It's the beginning, and go to Dentaltown, go to look for on the internet and look for practice management and communication, read lots of books on dental side. Kate Jameson is terrific too, great communication. Anyway, continue improving your technical skills, but remember about the 85% about communication, case presentation, and the future will be bright. I think I love this book from John Wilde. It's like being a basketball player. We dentists, we're not made all the same. Some are Michael Jordan, some are Magic Johnson, like Howard Farran, but this is a good one.
A prescription for success, wealth, and joy. By, does it say John A. Wilde, DDS? Nice.
This book changed my life. We need to read every day. Yeah. Keep studying. Continuing and never-ending improvement. Kenny from Tony Robbins. We have a Netflix movie from Tony. I'm not your guru. I'm asking you, Howard, to be my guru, my mentor. And this movie is interesting. You saw it? From Tony Robbins on Netflix?
I did not see that. I did not see Tony Robbins on Netflix.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is it a new movie?
Yeah, brand new, last year. I'm not your guru.
I'm not your guru.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that, CANI, C-A-N-I, constant and never-ending improvement. That's why we say we practice dentistry. And you said something very profound that I hope doesn't fly over everyone's head. That is 85% of success in dentistry is the people skills, the soft skills, talking to your patients, making them feel good, not talking down to them, not hurting them, not disrespecting them, and staff, patients. I mean, the people who are successful in any business are successful in the people side.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You could be the
7 habits.
You could be the worst plumber in Phoenix, Arizona, but if every little old lady loved you, you'd be busy. You'd be the busiest plumber.
Yeah. Phoenix is an amazing city, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. There's so many retired people here. I swear, I think half the men that come in for their cleaning over 75 years old in my practice only do it because Jan gives them a hug. I mean, I kid you not. I mean, sometimes when we're busy, they will stand there at the counter 15 minutes waiting to say hello to her or say goodbye to her. I mean, it's the relationship.
Yeah, it's about living a life, isn't it?
And she knows all their names, and she knows everything about them. If their wife passed away, she remembers their name and when it was. I mean, she's just an amazing human being. And that's what humans are looking for. They never remember what dentist did this filling or this crown, or they never remember that. They only remember if they like that office, if they like the people, and they remember why they stopped going back there.
Yeah, dental assistant is a key for success. My dental assistant's with me with 17 years, Patricia. She has a beautiful smile, and every patient loves her. It's interesting. Our team is very short here. We have just one dental assistant and someone helping on the telephone and scheduling. We're working in smaller practices.
Well, it's less overhead. I did a
Rick
podcast.
Kushner said about lean and mean.
Hey, I did a podcast with one of my favorite dentists in the world, Gigi. It's a Vietnamese name. It's Gigi Han. In Vietnam, it's like half the people have only like 6 different last names, and she has no employees, and it's amazing. She just has this square office, 1 chair, no employees, and she's probably makes more money than 90% of the dentists in California. And she laughs on that podcast because when you really look at so many of these dentists, what they mostly do is just provide jobs in the community. I mean, they got 2 girls up front, an office manager, 2 assistants, 2 hygienists. They're running around like a chicken all day, and everything they do, there's hardly any net income. I mean, they might only have a 25, 30% profit margin, and she goes and does half the amount of production, and it's almost all net. I mean, she's just nothing but net.
That's why lean and mean works well in Brazil. Be lean and mean overhead.
Well, Gigi is lean, but she's not mean. She's lean and she's sweeter than the Tooth Fairy. So Rick Kirshner is lean and mean, and Gigi is lean and beautiful, kind, and is the Tooth Fairy on Dentaltown. It's an amazing podcast because as people switch from higher cash payments to lower PPO insurance and their margins are getting squeezed, they really have to reevaluate all these high overhead concepts that were developed when dental insurances were paying 40% more per procedure. So when the insurance lowers your fee 40% and all your staff want to raise every time the earth goes around the sun, at some point you start realizing all I'm doing is creating jobs and stress. And then, as you mentioned, the lawyers, if you see 5 times as many patients in this big production facility, you have 5 times as much exposure to lawyers, liability, legality. And I'll tell you what, half the dentists out there need to ask themselves this question: do I come to work every day to provide jobs or to make money to provide for my family? And I also know a lot of older dentists who will come in and do all their high-intensity procedures in the morning, root canals, crown and bridge. They'll do everything from like 7 to noon, and then they'll go to lunch, and then they come back in the afternoon, and all they do is recall. All they do is cleanings. And they say they love the afternoon because they just come back, they just do cleanings with their assistant. They work 2 chairs, the 2-chair hygiene, and they just get to talk and bond with their patients that have been coming there a long time. The dental assistant will clean the room, set up the room, seat the patient, take the x-rays. Then the dentist will come in and she'll record while he probes. And then when he starts switching to scaling and doing the polishing, she'll go to the next room, clean that one up, set it for the next one, seat the next patient. And they'll do 2 cleanings an hour. And they say, hey, I don't have a hygienist. I don't have any stress. They don't want to, they're too tired after lunch to come back and place implants and do root canals and do high stuff. And you look at these offices where there's just 1 assistant and 1 receptionist, and this doctor might only be doing $400,000 a year, but he's taking home $250,000. And most of the offices that do $675,000 a year are only taking home $145,000. So you got to start thinking what's going on when someone's doing half the volume and taking home an extra $100,000 more than you. So are you living on roller skates to provide jobs?
So we need to work on our practice and make it a happiness.
Now, who
Huh?
wrote, is that a dental book, Building the Happiness-Centered Business?
Yes, from Paddy Bundy, Australia. You said about Australia.
Patty
Yeah.
Lund.
We need to be happy here in our corner. I'm happy here in Brazil, in my little corner of the world, and that's where I live and where I grew up, and my children will grow up. We have some kind of problem, politicals, but in Europe we are seeing the terrorism in America. Anyway, we have to be happy where we live and look for our deep inside and be better each day. Because this life is fast and is not enough. We will have. I remember in San Diego where I met Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer, the writer. He went to the seminar in San Diego, and he said very special things for our souls too.
So I found I found Dentistry's Future, Prescription for Success, John Wild, and then I found the second one.
I look in New York for Penwell. There's no more Penwell.
Yeah, Penwell stands for Pennsylvania Oil Wells, and it was their first magazine.
Dental Economics is from Penwell.
They own, I think they own 86 different magazines. But they started with Pennsylvania Oil and Gas, and then eventually got into one of their 86 magazines. I think was Dental Economics, and their website's Dentistry IQ. And I used to love the editor of that magazine for so many years. It was Joe Blaze, great guy. And now it's Joshua Austin. And I think it's Joshua Austin who I've had on the podcast. He's a great guy too. The internet has really been a game changer, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's changed our lives. Yeah.
I mean, instead of thinking of a foreign country on the other side of the world in a different continent, now we're all on Google. And I think it's going to absolutely be our finest century. I mean, last century, 1900 to 2000, there were 2 world wars. There was a depression. There was a lot of little proxy wars that caused a lot of carnage. And from 2000 to 2100 is looking so. I mean, this is 2017. So if you to go back the first 17 years of the last century, you had the Spanish influenza, which killed 5% of the entire planet, from Kansas to Brazil to Nepal. So, I mean, we already skipped the Spanish influenza. I mean, people are all worried about all these problems. But, I mean, did you know where Howard Goldstein lives in Pennsylvania? Philadelphia bought their first steam engine during the Spanish influenza because they could not dig the graves fast enough. And the fire trucks were carried by horses. And when someone died in your house, you were supposed to lay them by the street. And every day, the carriage would come by and pick up all the dead bodies. And then they would take them out, and they have to bury them. So they couldn't dig fast enough. So they bought a steam engine to dig these mass graves. So, I mean, just in the first 17 years of 2000, just not having
just yesterday,
just not having a global epidemic, and then right around 2018, then you had the outbreak of World War I, where I mean, I think the 2 world wars killed 138 million people. So but most people think the last century was the greatest century ever. I mean, we landed on the moon, radio, television, the internet, the automobile. I mean, just think of all the great things. But that was when 80% of the planet could not read or write. But now with the smartphone and the internet, I mean, the next century, pretty much everyone is going to be literate. Everyone's going to have access to information, not just people in rich countries. And right now, because of the internet, information is free. Information has zero cost. I mean, you can go on Wikipedia, and it's 52 million pages long for free. So it's going to be our finest century ever. I mean, the 2000 to 2100 is going to be probably several times greater than 1900 to 2000. And I just want to tell you that that was the fastest hour ever. if you ever want us to create a Brazilian dental town, that would be great. I bet Neodent, I bet they have all the emails to all the dentists in Brazil. I imagine Henry Schein might have a lot of them also. But I can't wait to see you and Monica and your 3 kids in Sao Paulo again someday.
Yeah. We'll work for next Congress in São Paulo and bring you. Okay?
Okay. I hope you have a great day. Give your family my love.
Okay, thank you. Nice to be with you.